Hi people, Night Voice here again. I see today in the paper the Reserve Bank here in Australia made a 4.9 billion, that's million with a B, loss, and have told the government that they won't be paying a dividend, and the boss and the some of the head executives are going to get a pay rise. This is one of the reasons that everything is financially knackered throughout the world. All these banks, all the money that the banks have loaned out to different business ventures, especially these subprime mortgages that come out of America. I noticed last week or the week before, the Commonwealth Bank here in Australia gave some UK company $150 million, and the outfit went broke within a month or two. And everybody has to ask the question, like I've mentioned before, no one does nothing for nothing. You do something, you want to get paid for it, unless you are doing something as a good Samaritan or something like that. But in business, everybody does something and you get paid for it, or you get a commission, or you get a bonus, or whatever. The way most of the banks work is that if the bank manager or executives or whatever, if they make their quota, their monthly target, they get a bonus. Now the problem is that some of these bankers have given out money to shonky companies or shonky businessmen so they can get their bonus. If you look at all these credit default swaps, which is basically one company insuring another company, the dollars are absolutely huge. If you put the dollar amount of all the money that is owed throughout the world, all these government bonds, the banks, buy, and these, like I said, these subprime mortgages, these default swaps, and everything else. If you put that dollar amount into a computer, you'd blow it up. There wouldn't be enough zeros to cover it. And I would probably say that I'm no economist or anything, but you could probably say that a good 85%, maybe even higher, of that money is fairy floss. It's figures on a computer. I've mentioned before. Figures on a computer. The money doesn't exist. During the Great Depression in America, when the stock market crashed in the 20s or whenever it was, or 30s or something, and everybody rushed to the banks to try and get their money, they shut the banks because they know that if you go down to the bank and you want your money, the money's not there. You won't get it. We've only got to look at Australia of how many banks or private investment companies have gone down the gurgler since the crash in '87. Now here in Western Australia there was one major bank that went down, a private bank, went broke. A lot of people lost their money. There was a building society that went down to gurgler. People had their pays put in it the day before. Guys banging on the door trying to get his money. Teller machine wasn't working. Well, I don't know whether they had teller machines then, but in the eastern states there were a heap of people who went down to gurgler as well, building societies, unprotected. I see in the paper the other day, it was interesting to see that here in Australia that the government, I think, have dropped their government guarantee of bank deposits from 1 million down to 250,000. Now anybody that has money deposited in bank accounts, I'm talking about millions of dollars. If I had millions of dollars in bank accounts, I would be sort of looking at that sideways and thinking, now what's going on here? The government inadvertently telling us something that we shouldn't really know. I mean, I've mentioned worldwide finances are absolutely they're knackered. Europe's getting worse by the day. I see they're protesting on Wall Street in America, in New York City, have been for the past 5 days, tens of thousands of people, because of the government policies and the bankers. All this money that propped the banks up, and most of it, I think, I have seen figures, trillions of dollars anyway, went to overseas banks, mainly in Europe probably. But now today our bank, well, it's not ours, it's private, the Reserve Bank here in Australia, $4.9 billion loss, as I mentioned, and the bosses are getting a pay rise. Same sort of thing. I mean, our treasurer comes out and says that our banking situation is highly regulated and there's not a problem. We can survive any downfall in the economy, in the worldwide economy. He's living in fairyland. I mean, we are highly dependent on China, and I've mentioned before about China slowing down. The manufacturing is slowing down because the Americans aren't buying as much. I mean, they depend on exports. They've got billions of people in their countries, and it's slowing down because of the worldwide economics. So the manufacturing is slowing down. There's going to be dozens of factories laying around idle. And all this iron ore that we're shipping out to China, that may slow down as well. Because they won't be building so much, they won't need so much steel at this present point in time. I mean, the whole thing is pretty scary throughout the world, and for our government here, or especially anybody that controls our money, especially our treasurer and the Reserve Bank, saying that our economy's pretty cruisy and that we'll survive any downturn. When you have to think about how much money that our banks here in Australia have invested in overseas companies or wherever they've got their money overseas. Doesn't matter who you are. I mean, look, you know, the Yanks are always on about too big to fail. Any one of our banks, or anybody, could go down to gurgler tomorrow. You know? Doesn't matter who you are. If certain things happen, which are happening at the moment, as far as everybody's economy is concerned, there's just no stopping it. Just go down and down and down. Bang. So, I mean, I suppose the government, and especially the Treasurer and the boss of the Reserve Bank, I suppose really they sort of have to say these things that you know, our economy's fine, our banking system's fine, and all this sort of crap. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean one bloody ounce. It's worth nothing, because everything could crash. I've mentioned that before. Everybody's going to lose the shirts off their back. It's just too huge. So in times of crisis, what do we all do? Anybody that is basically fairly responsible, you take care of yourself. You take care of your own family, you take care of your own finances as best you can, and hopefully you survive. So that's what this country needs to do. Forget about, especially these banks, forget about investing money overseas, or if you have investments overseas, they should be hauling them in as quick as they can. And forget about loaning any more money out overseas. And concentrate on Australia. Everything Australian. Because at the end of the day, like I said, everybody's going to lose their shirts off their back if we don't concentrate, if we don't look after ourselves. And that's basically all there is to it. Doesn't matter whether you're a pension or whether you're bloody the Australia's richest man or richest woman. Right? Basically look after ourselves, look after this country. That's all we've got. Nobody else gives a damn about us. Like I've mentioned before, we're only 22 million people, maybe 23 now. A dot on the map as far as population is concerned. Anyway, that's my feelings for the night. Night voice, catch you.